everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'll be discussing about the future of Michael Venom Page and where does he end up after he has left Bellator. Before we get into the video, make sure to hit the like button, share button, and subscribe button for more great content on the channel. Yes, this video is discussing about Michael Venom Page. Now, he has announced that he has left Bellator after about 10 years in the promotion. Where he has amassed a record of 21 wins, 2 losses. One loss was a knockout loss to Douglas Lima, and then another one was to Logan Storley at his shot at interim welterweight gold, which unfortunately I was there to witness that fight. Considering that Logan Storley basically bear hugged him for the whole fight. And we booed Storley out of the building. That's what I remember of that we booed Storley out that building and he lapped it all up. But yes, so Michael Venom Page has now left Bellator. And since he's left Bellator, obviously PFL have bought out Bellator and they're going to do a champions versus champions card in first quarter of this year. So where does that leave MVP? Because he's tried bare knuckle. So after his loss to Storley, he went to face Mike Perry in bare knuckle, which was a great fight. It was a great fight. He definitely made a lot of money. And then he came back and he had another highlight reel knockout where he just kicked the guy's knee and you literally saw it go pop. Crazy knockout, and he is definitely one of the best strikers outside of the UFC. And that brings us on to the flirting that has been going on between Dana White and Michael Venom Page. And for me, it's inevitable that he will end up in the UFC. The only reason why I believe that he'll end up in the UFC is that he's not going to join Bellator. He's not going to go to the PFL. For him, he's done his time with Bellator, and where Michael Venom Page is at is his career. I think he's after big fights, money fights. I don't think he'll go for championship gold because he's 36 now. So Father Time will be catching up with him in somewhat. And going to Bellator, well, not even going back to Bellator, going to the PFL, so any money fights at welterweight or at middleweight that you're thinking, oh yeah, I'd love to see that. Obviously, as a purist, there's plenty of matchups that he could have, but is that going to get him the most eyes, the most traction, the most money? And that's why, for me, I think he'll end up in the UFC. A bit similar to Michael Chandler, where I do think they are going to strap the rocket to him to get him to a title shot as quick as possible. Whether or not that will be at middleweight or that will be at his natural weight class at welterweight, then that remains to be the question. So let's assume that at some point next year, Michael Venom Page will be making his UFC debut. Because for me, that's what I think he will eventually end up. After this flirting between him and Dana, I do believe that he will end up in the UFC. And how do you debut Michael Venom Page in the UFC? You're not going to give him a title. You're not going to give him a title shot against Leon Edwards or against Sean Strickland. So ruling that out. Ruling out the title shot. Is he going to get a number one contenders bout? Probably not. Probably not. I don't. No. I wouldn't believe that he'd get a number one contender shot. So for me, he's going to get a showcase bout against a big name. Going to generate loads of traction. So let's look at the potential opponents that I believe should be in the ring to fight him. Number one for me would be Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Wonderboy. Yes, he has got an upcoming fight against Shavkat Rakhmonov at UFC 296. Well, I do expect Wonderboy to lose that fight, and that will sort of end his run towards the belt. And we know Wonderboy has been saying that he wants to fight strikers, and which better striker in or outside the UFC than Michael Venom Page to make his debut against. Wonder Boy has mentioned this in the past in interviews, being respectful as anything, saying that he would love to welcome Michael Venom Page into the UFC. So for me, that seems the most ideal matchup. And plus, if you're going back to England next year as well, MVP debuting for the UFC in England makes sense, right? He could either headline a fight night in England, or he can be part of a numbered card. So for me, that seems like the most logical explanation. If you want to give him one of the, I say, if you look at welterweight and look at big names, you could give him someone like a Gilbert Burns. Yes, another big heavy striker, big power shots, and Gilbert's at that place where he's getting on a bit. Is he going to make another run for the belt? He's sort of surveying the situation. So having MVP against like a Gilbert Burns, yes, that would bring big eyes. I think MVP may get the job done against Gilbert Burns, because we don't know. Because I know Gilbert's been out injured after his fight against Bilal. I think he had like a shoulder injury or something to that extent that sort of kept him out for a while. So yeah, so that's an option, Gilbert Burns. Another one, if you want to give him strikers, you can give him some like a Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, MVP, two very dynamic strikers. That would, as a purist, you'd want to see that. Would that generate the appeal? Kevin Holland versus Michael Venom Page. Would that seem too low down a ranked opponent to fight someone like Kevin Holland, when you probably know he's going to be very similar to Michael Chandler when he comes to the UFC? He's probably got a short window to challenge for the belt. So would you really want to debut him against someone that low down at welterweight as Kevin Holland? Maybe. So you're trying to look, or do you give him like a former champion? Do you give him Kamaru Usman? Well, on the basis of Kamaru's last fight, we are probably assuming that he's still got something left in the tank for us. So former champion Michael Venom Page, but yet again, that wouldn't be an ideal matchup for Page because of the wrestling. Yes, I'm not saying that MVP is a poor wrestler, crap wrestler, got nothing on the ground, but he's got good takedown defense. But I do believe that his strength is obviously on the feet. Look at the knockouts he has had in Bellator. Look at the damage he has caused people, the knee blowout, the skull caving in. So he has got that devastating striking. Would you want to give him a wrestler in his first UFC appearance? No. But when you're looking at the options, does he make the jump to middleweight? Does he decide, I'm 36, the cut to 170 is big? Let's move up to middleweight. Let's see what partners we got to dance at middleweight. Could you give him Israel Adesanya at middleweight? Izzy needs a comeback opponent. I know Izzy said he's out till 2027, but we all know that ain't true. If the money's right, if the opponent is right, Izzy will come back, and people will want to see Izzy versus Michael Venom Page. I'm not saying that it would happen, but people would like to see it. MVP versus Strickland, people would want to see that. If you're looking at outside the title picture, I'm trying to think outside top, do you give him like a Marvin Vettori, someone who's got loads of cardio, mixes in a little bit of everything? But it really does depend. I do think MVP to the UFC will make sense, and it will make the UFC a lot of money, because will it make the UFC a lot of money though? Yeah, I'd say so. Like, he's definitely a big enough star. Like, he was Bellator's MVP, was one of Bellator's biggest stars. So yes, and people would assume, oh, he's going to the UFC because Bellator hasn't paid him enough in 10 years. Let me tell you, MVP was treated like royalty at Bellator. Like, he's not coming over to the UFC because the pot of money at Bellator dried up, because Bellator's just gone to the PFL, and PFL have got some Saudi backing, so it's not like they exactly strapped for cash for the fighters. But I think for MVP, this stage of his career, he's going to be looking. He's gonna. I think he will fight for a belt in the UFC. His move for me, I wonder if that's why there's been a lot of like flirting between, well, flirting, big air quotation marks, with Dana of of who's going to fight, how quickly is that going to lead into a title shot, um, either at middleweight, at welterweight. I know he's primarily been a welterweight throughout his career, but you never know with fighters. Like MVP is a big guy. Like that cut to 170 is not exactly what you'd call easy. So it's very interesting for me. I think he will be at welterweight. I think he will fight at welterweight. Yes, like him and Izzy at middleweight. That would be a spectacle to expert strikers. But I just don't see him fighting at middleweight. I feel like welterweight will be his home. And for me, the opponent that makes the most sense is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Like, I know Wonderboy like was open to the fight, but he said like, yeah, like I'm 40, I want to try and get to the belt. For me, I think when Wonderboy does lose against Shavkat in 3 weeks' time, then MVP Michael Venom Page versus Wonderboy in London, I think makes the perfect sense to me. Get him on the undercard of like Leon Edwards, and then build up the tension. Like, I know people may think it's not going to fight a Brit. What, MVP versus Leon? Like, can't happen. They're English. But Michael Venom Page has fought Paul Daly, who is another Brit. So let's not put it out the realms of the possibility. And Leon's based in London. MVP's no, Leon's based in Birmingham. MVP's based in London. We don't know whether or not like they're tight, like mates, like that, whether or not that they would fight each other. But yeah, they're both competitors. They definitely fight each other. To my knowledge, I don't think they're like they're pally, but I think it's definitely respect. And that would be a great matchup. Leon Edwards versus Michael Venom Page. That would be a great matchup. But for me, Michael Venom Page should make his UFC debut against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure to hit the like button, share button, and subscribe button, and keep an eye out on the channel this week, where I will be previewing the UFC card this upcoming weekend, and also I will be doing a video discussing the news about that Deontay Wilder, Francis Ngannou mixed rules and why it shouldn't happen, and also just touching on that they are that PFL are literally going to chuck the bag at Nate Diaz for him to fight Jake Paul in his UFC debut. So keep an eye out for those videos on the channel this week, and we'll see you all very soon. Thanks.